Welcome one and all to the Cine Geeks podcast, where movies, TV, and all things geek collide. I'm Angela, still joined by my co-host Roy.
Hey everyone, what's up?
Hope you enjoyed the long weekend.
Which still is until today.
Yeah.
Well, this comes out Monday, August 26, so the last day of the long weekend. Yeah.
So hope you are enjoying it
Yep.
right now. And for today's episode, of course, as promised, we'll be talking about the following films. Blink Twice, directed by Zoe Kravitz, written by Kravitz and E.T. Feigenbaum, starring Naomi Ackie, Channing Tatum, and Adria Arjona. And Real Life Fiction, written and directed by Paul Soriano, starring Piolo Pascual and Jasmine Curtis Smith.
All right. But before we continue, we would like to again remind everyone who hasn't done so, even our returning listeners, to please follow our pod wherever you listen to podcasts like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.
And of course, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Letterboxd, and X, aka Twitter, so you can join in on the fun. Also, visit our website, www.cinegeekspod.com, for the latest in movie and TV news and reviews.
Please don't hesitate to send us your questions and feedback to our email address, cinegeekspod@gmail.com. And also join us on Facebook, our group there called the Cinegeeks PHHQ.
Yes.
So you can interact with us as well as with your fellow Cinegeeks. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the first movie for this episode, Real Life Fiction. Real Life Fiction delves into the abyss of an actor's mind as he loses bits of his self or sense of self after years of being one of the most celebrated personalities in his time. Okay. Medyo deep.
Hindi medyo.
Well, yeah.
It really is. Very, very deep
Very, very
indeed.
deep. Pero sige, wag na natin patagalin pa. Ange, what did you think of Real Life Fiction?
Grabe. How to answer that question?
Oh, parang ano yun.
I'm still
tinanong ka-
thinking about what I think
Parang
about
tinanong
it.
ka, what is the meaning of life? Parang ganun yung klaseng tanong yun, no? What did you think?
It's 42.
Yeah. High five.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, wala siyang anything sa trailer or sa logline. I did not know what to expect, actually. All I know is these are two very good-looking actors reflecting on the meaning of existence. Yun lang yung parang inallude nung trailer, which it did not give away. And it also gave everything, parang ganun. Kasi napaka-abstract nung movie to the point na it's almost philosophical.
Almost. I mean, it is, if I may. Super.
Ayun nga it's a beautiful mix of contradictions. Kasi nga, real life fiction is also a paradoxical statement, diba? So, it's the duality of everything in life. And we follow Piolo Pascual's character named Paco. And he's a creator. He's a creative. But we knew him in the movie as an actor. Parang who is directing his first film.
Parang nag-function siya as an avatar for Piolo, basically.
Oo nga meron din siyang meta-element din.
Super.
So, parang this is like a brain tickle, actually. You don't know also if this is a story about real life, Piolo's real life, or if this is a fictionalized version of Piolo. Diba?
Sige, sabihin mo dun sa yung part na Piolo Pascual gets the opportunity to play with his image, kumbaga, in the film. As yung image niya as Piolo, tas parang hinahatak niya in fiction, kumbaga.
Yes.
And we haven't really seen Piolo do work like this. I mean, ando dun na, napupunta tayo, like yung Mamalyari, na yung nagdadabble siya into less, quote-unquote, mainstream films.
Yun. Or yung yung stereotypical yung leading man.
Ikaw, how do you think the audiences who are parang geared or wired to expect a Piolo film to be stereotypical or prototypical, the Piolo film, how do you think they will receive this performance from him, and two, this film in general? How do you think?
Well, first of all, I think Piolo fans, let's say, the Piolo fanatics, will be taken aback by this movie and Piolo's role in this movie because it's purely in English.
Yes.
So parang doon pa lang, so first thing about it is very parang unusual. And ako din, parang meron din akong konting parang reservations about it kasi I haven't really seen him in a full English role. But I know he can speak English naman. He can articulate himself in English well. I've watched him in interviews and in media cons and he's a very well-spoken lad. Pero this is acting. It's really putting your heart and your performance in a language that is not your first language. So it's a bit different, di ba? Kumbaga, iba yung inflection, iba yung intonation, iba yung emphasis ng mga words kapag Tagalog, iba kapag English. So, yun lang yung parang reservation ko, which towards the early middle of the movie, parang hindi ko na naisip na, they're speaking in English. To answer your question, number 1 is yung in English nga.
Yun.
Tapos number 2, this is not the typical Piolo performance. Hindi ito yung parang playbook niya. Na merong iyakan, merong grand gesture. Of course, pinapakita pa rin, sinashowcase pa din naman yung physique niya.
Siyempre,
and his beautiful chiseled face. Diba? Hindi na, you can't help it. Pero, when it comes to yung Piolo na ine-expect mo and nung mga fans niya, you won't see it here. Kasi this Piolo is brooding. This Piolo is very inside his head. And alam mo yung sobrang muted nung acting niya. It's nothing like all the teleserye and the dramatic roles he's ever done.
Sige, ito. Try natin tong gawin. Kasi yun na nga we don't want to talk about this in detail. Kasi ako ito, sabihin natin na to quote one of our respected directors that the Cinegeeks usually interact with, si Direct Dustin Celestino. He said, and ako personally, I take this as a badge of honor.
Okay.
Yung sinabi niya sabi sa atin na, we're not yung quote-unquote learned or nag-aral about film.
We're not technical.
Pero we speak about this sincerely.
And passionately.
So, hindi ko sasabihin, hindi ako magpapanggap, hindi tayo nagpapanggap na parang, nag-gets natin lahat ng philosophical mumbo-jumbo ng sine. Pero, if you were asked to parang sell this film to the masses, kasi this is an SM Cinema exclusive.
Yes.
So, it's a masa mall. Makita nila, Piolo, real life fiction. How do you think you can sell this or parang tell this to the audience na parang, panoorin ito yung sine ni Piolo. Tapos, anong tungkol saan? Tapos biglang, boom, okay. Ano yung pitch mo?
Shucks. Ang hirap.
Sige. Kasi ako...
Ikaw muna sa magtatanong mo.
It's the kind of film na parang hindi ka mapapalagay after watching it. Kasi parang yung lahat ng neurons sa utak mo. If you're that kind of film goer, na if you're not, there's nothing wrong with that and there's no judgment in that. Pero ako personally, I know ikaw din, na we love these brain ticklers. Sinabi mo nga kanina.
Yeah.
So, it's a very heady film.
It is.
And hindi pa natin natouch upon yung sinabi dun sa press conference after the press screening.
Yeah,
Nakasama
which
tayo.
we attended.
Thank you. Black Cap Pictures, by the way pala. Na this is also a somewhat personal tale from director and writer Paul Soriano.
Yeah.
So, kita mo yung parang ang dami niyang influences na gustong paghugutan in telling a very personal tale.
I mean, if you look closely, it's everywhere in the movie.
Ito pa, sabihin ko lang yung scene na to is like candy shop for a cinephile. Kasi maliban na nga dun sa parang sobrang abstract niya na parang talagang, parang sabihin mo dun sa scene, movie, are you asking me to give my interpretation of you? Parang ganun nakakiltingan. Mayroon siya yung mga Easter eggs pa, nakita mo kung sino yung mga obvious na mga references niya at yung mga inspiration niya.
The books, the posters.
Books, movies, makita mo doon lagi na pinapakita si Charlie Kaufman. So parang alam mo na for the lack of a better term, mindfuck yung scene.
Yeah.
May Kubrick pa nga.
David Lynch.
May David Lynch. May Mulholland Drive na poster. Yung mga ganong bagay.
Oo, na sobrang, alam mo yung parang kumbaga sa Marvel movie, yung mga Easter eggs sa frame na makikita mo. Parang biluga mo lahat. Ganon.
Pero at its core, after mong makita yung lahat ng bells and whistles na ganon, nakakatuwa na makakita ng creative na maging sobrang brave enough to bare their soul in celluloid. Kasi alam kong ang daming gustong sabihin ni Paul dun sa script niya
Oo it's like his creative process.
Yun.
Ito yung parang sense of self niya. Ito yung tingin niya sa the blurring nature of reality and fiction when you are a creator.
Yes.
Diba?
Tsaka din, yung nga may relationship si Paco with yung character ni Jasmine Curtis Smith, hindi pa na-touch upan yun, si Paula, na yung girlfriend, na pwede mong isa sa mga many of the millions of possibilities na interpretation to scene na to is yun nga na he's commenting on his relationship.
Well, that's a possible angle. I wouldn't really...
I mean, he's a creative who's parang trying to find the boundary between being a partner
to an actress
and being a partner romantically, being a life partner, and being a partner in the creative process. Yung ganun
Yeah.
Kasi actually ito, hindi ko masasabi
parang asan yung delineation?
Oo. Tama. Na parang ito, halimbawa, sa atin dito sa podcast. Na parang, where do we draw the line between parang being so harsh with our opinions, especially kapag sobrang salungat natin. Parang, do I forget na you are my partner? Parang ganun.
Or parang, I just said that as a podcaster.
As a podcaster, yung ganun. Oo. Kasi even siya, para siyang hindi na niya ma-compartmentalize Kasi it's important also to note that this is a film na set in the pandemic.
And also, yung nature ng kanyang creative process is method.
Yun pa.
So parang talagang grabing immersive.
Sa trabaho talaga siya.
And sub dun sa characters and the story he's creating.
He is. Kaya I'm sorry to our listeners to this episode. I'm sorry if you're looking for like a straight up review of this film. Kami na unang magsasabi sa inyo na hindi na magagawa ng review to. Na parang talagang yung straight up na gano'n. Masasabi lang namin na magaling yung acting, which is sobrang galing. Props kay Epi Kison.
Oh, yes.
As Paco's manager.
Agent
or manager. Nakakatuwa siya. Na sobrang siya yung nagtatry mag-keep straight kay Piolo. Doon sa kanyang pag-burrow down the rabbit hole.
Exactly. And yun nga ang ganda kasi niya nung nature ng kanyang narrative kasi you would discuss it for years to come.
Endless well of
ang daming
discussion
pwedeng,
siya.
para siyang, like I said earlier, it's an abstract painting that you can interpret in million different ways.
Or, to borrow another term that you've used in the past, it's like a Rorschach test.
It's a reflection of your own
yung pagkatao mo.
Worldview.
Yun.
No?
Yeah, paano mo titignan yung character ni Paco, paano mo titignan yung character ni Paula, si Jasmine. By the way, also is fantastic. Yung writing, impeccable. Direction as well. And I would also like to give major props to the cinematographer.
Ay, oo.
Of this film.
Grabe yung framing nitong movie na to.
Sorry, hanapin ko lang. Si Odyssey Flores. Talagang, God, this movie is a feast for the eyes.
Yeah, grabe.
Super.
If I'm just gonna watch it as a silent film, I can just look at the pictures and I will still have a great time.
Pero
ganun kaganda yung cinematography niya and sound design.
Yun din. Ang galing din ng sound design niya. I'm really sorry. We're looking at the IMDb page. I don't think kompleto pa siya. Pero to the sound design team of this film, sobrang galing. Ito na lang, in closing na lang siguro sa real life fiction. We touched upon this point nung pinag-usapan natin yung Kantil, the Cinemalaya film a few episodes back, na hindi naman siguro we didn't appreciate. Parang tayo na hindi nag-click sa atin. Yung style, yung Terrence Malick style.
Okay.
Niya. Na parang sobrang na esoteric to the 11th, to the nth power siya. Super. Why do you think this movie clicked with us more? It's also esoteric in nature. Sobra din yung abstract. Actually, it's even more abstract than Cantil. Pero why do you think this parang spoke to you more, itong real life fiction, than that film?
Mas simple kasi yung kanyang mga concepts na tinatakil eh. It's just about existence. What is real?
Simple. Existence.
I mean, marami kasing tinatakil yung Cantil. Merong
iba-ibang plot
same-sex relationship. Merong politics. Merong nature. 'Di ba? So, ang dami niyang gustong sabihin. Meron pang parang statement on society. So, ang dami. It became convoluted because of all the parang gusto niyang i-sandwich lahat. 'Di ba? Ang daming rekado. Pero ito, isa lang. Pero hard-hitting.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's the focus. That's what really
stands out here.
That's what really got me in this movie. And ayun nga, pero I wouldn't say na mako-compare ko siya sa Cantil eh. Mas malapit siya sa An Errand.
Yes. Yeah.
If you watched Cinemalaya and if you liked An Errand, you will like this.
You will like this.
Napaka-present nung siguro, I'm not sure if this is direct Paul Soriano's influence as well, pero David Fincher's The Killer.
Oo, no?
It's very that. Parang
lumabas ang The Killer after this. So, na-inspire si David Fincher ni Paul Soriano.
Wow, probably. Wow. Sana all. Pero, ayun nga, napaka-introspective niya.
Yes.
And it's very understated. Mm-hmm. Beautifully performed by Piolo Pascual. Talagang nabigyan niya ng justice yung character niya. And also Jasmine Curtis Smith.
Oo.
Sobrang galing nila.
Tapatan silang dalawa.
And we asked them questions nga din about how they portrayed their characters. This movie discusses method acting. So, did they also do method acting in this movie? So, I'll play here a clip of the Cinegeeks questions to Piolo Pascual and Jasmine Curtis Smith on how they approached their method acting.
Hi, over here. We would like to know, in your career, have you ever tried doing method acting?
All the time.
Tell us more about that.
It's easier. I do it, almost every time I'm at work because it's easier for you to get into the character. I always request for a lock-in, so you're always in character. Not necessarily when you're not facing the camera, just as long as you know you are in your character, as long as you're doing it when you're doing it. So, yeah, it's really beneficial, especially for us. And if you do a lock-in like you're taping every day, you're just your character, so it's easier.
I'm pretty sure this is one of my first ventures into doing method in the full film. Previously, I've been able to use other techniques or, not really have to believe that I am the character. But it's just so easy for me to allow myself to become Paula as well, because it's so close to reality, and at the same time, the lock-in, the proximity, everything, all the dynamics that allowed us to work in towards the material kind of did call for me to also just be Paula, play Paula with that method. Because it wouldn't work if we didn't, I don't think.
Yeah.
You see a detachment where everything is so closed in a time, and that decade, in 2020, parang magde-detach talaga siya sa pelikula if I didn't allow it to happen. So it was a fun experience.
One more question. Of course, this tackles very heavy, heavy concepts like, existence and reality. So when you do method acting, how do you detach from it, and how do you, leave it in the set?
We let the work take us to a different place. I wake up to wearing a different hat every day. So there's no other way but to move on. Like after I did Nalyari, my director kept telling me, you have to shake this off, you have to do something, you have to go on vacation. The next day I was already rehearsing for a concert. So you wear a different hat, you become a different character. It's easy to shake it off because we're so consumed with a lot of things that we have to do as artists.
Definitely, you're almost forced into just shaking it off or detaching because there's no room to take your time half the time. Like what you were saying, wala namang bayad. So after when we finished the project, actually I was right into doing Descendants of the Sun lock in as well. So I was forced to cut off from playing a role of an actress, of a girlfriend, of being in this storyline and being caught up in a man's emotions and his world, his existential problems as well as mine. And then I had to jump into being a soldier, thinking straight.
All right. So
Ayan.
you just heard from the actors of Real Life Fiction. Again, Piolo Pascual and Jasmine Curtis Smith. Please don't miss this film. Yun na lang yung sabihin natin muna. Kasi, I mean, as much as we try to spoil this, we can't. Yan, we're still, we've seen this, siguro isang linggo na tayo natin almost 1 week na since pinanood natin siya. And we're still dissecting it. Meron nga tayong isang friend na has already seen an advanced copy of this film. And sabi niya sa atin, years na niyang binubuklat itong scene na to. So parang, yun na nga, it's heartening again to see a Filipino film na opens up avenues of discussion. Like
And
Kanerand,
yeah.
ito, yung ganon.
And genres na hindi usually ginagawa ng Filipino filmmakers.
Yes, that's true. Or, hindi man usually, kasi may mga Filipino filmmakers tayo na nagda-touch upon this kinds of films, pero hindi siya mainstream.
But we never get to see them.
Exactly, kasi nga, hindi siya mainstream. And,
One of,
yes.
meron ditong isang
Yun na
moment.
lang. Sabihin natin na lang may moment
It's a moment.
na if you are a fan of Filipino experimental film, squeak! Magigano ko na lang. Okay, so I guess that's it for Real Life Fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll give this a solid A. Kasi sobrang talagang ang galing ng acting, ganda na writing, and just the mere fact again that it's a film that we will discuss for years and years to come. It's a treasure to have a film like that. Talaga. Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the second movie for this episode, Blink Twice. When tech billionaire Slater King meets cocktail waitress Frida at his fundraising gala, he invites her to join him and his friends on a dream vacation on his private island. As strange things start to happen, Frida questions her reality. So, Roy, we saw this same day.
Same day ng Real Life Fiction.
Oo. So, this is like a combo din.
Sobrang-
Combo hit tong dalawang to.
Grabe. Panglase.
Okay, wag na natin patagalin pa. What did you think of Blink Twice?
Yes.
Ayan na naman,
my God.
speechless ka.
Sige, meron akong isang film na naiisip. Meron tayong film na naisip. Siguro, ikaw naisip mo din yun while watching, na it's the most obvious comparison to this film. And that film is Jordan Peele's fantastic debut, Get Out.
Indeed.
I love that film. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Talaga.
Napaka-groundbreaking nung movie na yun.
Sobrang talagang mind-blown. Talagang, oh my God, yes! Talagang yung sobrang dalang na ngayon sa panahon na to, na makapanood tayo ng sine, na after na paglabas ng credits, pagkatapos ng buong sine, talagang yes! Yung talagang ganun. And this is one of those films. Grabe yung tapang. Yun yung masasabi kong adjective dito. This is a brave film. A brave debut from Zoe Kravitz as a director.
Grabe, no? Talagang
Ibang klase siya.
she made her mark.
Woohoo!
Grabe.
This movie was marketed perfectly. As in talagang, we just had an inkling that something was wrong. Pero the trailers, the promotional material, everything else didn't give anything away. And I loved it.
Grabe, no?
Talagang ang galing ng marketing for this. Kasi pagdating mo dun sa sine, yung feeling mo na, okay, something is wrong. Something's fucked up here. It mood setting na eh. Yung poster, even yung poster design. I mean, everyone involved in this film is to be commended. Kasi everything works together so well. The unsettling nature of the poster. Parang, okay, bakit ganun yung poster? Tapos nung pinagpapanood mo na, nasa utak mo yun eh. Bakit ganun yung poster? Tapos,
Yung Polaroid?
Yung Polaroid. Yung nakaganon si Channing nun sa camera. Tapos nakalabas yung Polaroid ni Naomi Aki.
Diba? Napaka-unsettling.
Yon. And then, as the movie goes on, things get weirder and weirder. Para tayong, mas lalo siyang parang grip nung upuan mo sa sinehan eh.
Alam mo yung when you're taken for a ride and talagang ang ganda nung landing.
Yan.
Sobrang, alam mo yung build up dun sa, ano na yon, dun sa reveal, dun sa climax, and yung thrill then na nasustain niya dun sa climax na yon. Parang grabe yung satisfaction.
Parang siyang Get Out talaga. Yung writing din. Kasi, I mean, this movie has an embarrassment of riches in terms of actors involved. Dito si Christian Slater, Kyle MacLachlan, Haley Joel Osment. Fantastic role.
Yeah.
Tapos, of course, Channing Tatum. Props to him kasi we never see him experiment. Ito yung nakakatawa pa. The last time we saw him quote-unquote experiment was 21 Jump Street.
Akala ko Gambit.
Mabalamig ka man.
He did, in this movie.
He did. Oh,
and in Deadpool din naman.
Pero yung, nakita natin siyang mag-quote-unquote experiment na parang, pwede siya maging, comedic actor.
Especially, medyo let down siya sa akin sa Fly Me to the Moon, to be honest.
Oo. Well, pinag-usapan naman natin yun offline na it's a casting thing.
Yeah.
Parang siya na lang yung sumalo na dapat si Chris Evans, di ba? Yun. Pero, in terms of yung sa acting talagang sobrang nagpakita si Channing dito ng another side of him.
Yes.
That we didn't know existed as an actor sa kanya.
And ang galing din ni Zoe Kravitz in letting him shine, no?
Yes.
Parang this is the best role Channing Tatum has ever done.
Oo. This is his best film. I mean, it's not a hyperbole. Parang ito, tapos yung mga Jump Street niya.
Actually, ako, bold prediction. Magkakaroon ng, nominations.
Pwedeng
pero
sa,
yung
sa
timing
script.
kasi is
Hindi yan. Masusustain yan. Lalo na kung talaga. Ito, sige. We're going to try our best to not spoil it. Kasi this is talagang when that shift. Sorry Nalala mo nung sinabi natin dun sa Lolo and the Kid.
Okay.
Sorry to
that
use
was just last episode. So, I still remember, yes.
Yung sinabi natin sa Lolo and the Kid na parang for the first half of the film, para siyang, hindi man going to the motions, meron siyang parang siguro nasa segunda, kumbaga yung sine. Ito, ganun din siya eh. Or siguro, hindi lang segunda, nasa tercera siya. Tapos biglang magkakaroon ng moments na biglang, boom, bigla siyang nasa 6th gear bigla.
Oo. Tapos nagstay dun.
Tapos nagstay siya hanggang matapos yung ending ng 6th gear.
Grabe.
Sige, without hopefully spoiling nothing.
Okay.
What did you think of this film's take on what it tried to say?
Napaka unconventional nung turnout, actually.
Okay.
Nung events for our hero. Kasi it's flipping of what parang we expect to happen. Yun kasi parang ang hirap. Shit.
Ito din. Sige, ito. This has come out recently na Warner Brothers, the studio behind this, alongside Amazon MGM, they had to release a statement, basically a trigger warning for this film. So, I don't think spoiler na siya.
Okay.
If we're gonna say na parang this deals with sexual abuse.
Kasi sinabi naman dun sa trigger warning.
So, yun. The same way that Get Out tried to, or di man try, really opened up a very potent conversation about racism. Okay. Sige, ito na lang. Ayusin natin yung do you think Blink Twice will open up that same level of potency in terms of the conversation regarding sexual abuse?
Oh, definitely. We haven't seen a perspective like this before, actually. And ito yung talagang pinakita sa'yo yung ugly side of the abuse that's happening. And, who knows, it's still happening, di ba? And it's not just about abuse. Well, it is about abuse, but it's also about power.
It's also about power. Power dynamics.
Power dynamics and, yung rich and poor din.
Pero ang nakakatuwa sa kanya, hindi siya
preachy eh.
Hindi siya preachy. Hindi din parang feeling disjointed. Yung pagtackle niya nung lahat ng mga iba-ibang mga ibang mga topics na yon. Kasi sabi natin yung sexual abuse. And then yung power dynamics, issues of power dynamics. Tapos yung class. In a lesser filmmaker's hand, the story could have come out very clunky. Kasi magde-deal with siya or magde-devote siya ng time to each one. And other filmmakers would parang make that feel disjointed.
Mm.
Pero do you think Zoe Kravitz did, what kind of job did you think she did? Was it a good or a bad job na yung pag-mesh together niya? Ikaw para sa'yo.
Para sa akin, sobrang ganda nung mix and match niya nung lahat ng dynamics and elements nung mga concepts na tinakil niya dito. Kasi parang she also tackled gaslighting here. And, things that the abusers and the ones being abused are parang telling themselves to make sense or to rationalize their actions. And yung pagiging powerless and voiceless ng mga victims to the point na they don't even know na they are being abused. Parang ganon. So, yes, sobrang sure-handed ni Zoe Kravitz sa pagtackle nito and she has a bold statement about it. Kaya siguro hindi nawala yung focus niya. It didn't become clunky or disjointed kasi she has a statement she wants to say. And boy, grabe yung exclamation point sa dulo. Kasi talagang it wasn't a statement, it was a scream. Talagang grabe ka powerful.
Yes. As in, alam mo yung mic drop siya of the highest degree.
Yes.
Yung ending neto.
Oo.
Talaga. Yun na I mean, plot-wise, ayoko na magsabi ng anymore.
And the performances. Chef's kiss.
Ibang klase si Christian Slater. Siya actually yung pinaka-paborito ko ditong side character.
Oo.
Kasi you would think na yung buffoonery niya is just empty. Parang buffoonery. Ganon. Pero yun na nga, it goes back to perfect meld of good writing and great acting na everything just makes sense. Kumbaga, and then dun sa patapos na, pa rin. Ngayon. May masabi tayo, wag na.
Of course, sobrang galing din ni Naomi Aki dito. Talagang it banked on her performance.
Lest we forget, sorry.
As
Frida.
Grabe talaga. Alam mo, her performance almost reminds me of Lupita Nyong'o's performance in Us.
True.
Kung ano yung terror and horror na makikita mo sa mukha niya without even words. Grabe. Sobrang talagang shocked ako. Grabe. Nakakakilabot.
On the subject of imagery, this is one of the most visually arresting films this year. Ibang klase yung, hindi lang, kasi puro tayo, wow, vistas, wow, gano'n. May intentionality yung eclectic na imagery on display here and ginamit siya to a frighteningly fantastic degree.
Grabe.
Sobrang, yun na, ayoko magsabi ng mga specific instances.
Pero let me just say this. Talagang sobrang kudos to the storytelling of the production design and costume design.
Yes.
Talagang kahit sila, parang, kumbaga sa orchestra, their instruments sang.
Yes, super. Masabi lang natin yung cinematographer dito, si Adam Newport Vera. Nakita ko dito sa IMDb na one of his credited works, was actually as the cinematographer for the very first episode of The Bear.
Whoa!
So yung visceral intensity ng episode 1 ng The Bear.
Yung anxiety that you see on screen, no?
It's here. It's nasa blink twice siya. Yun lang yung sasabihin natin.
That first episode of The Bear.
Just Mariosep. Pero, yun I mean, at the end of the day, visuals and acting, to a degree, we'll say are bells and whistles na would fall by the wayside if the writing wasn't up to par.
And directing.
Pero dito, parang ayoko mag-compare naman kasi unfair din masyado. Pero ito siguro yung hini-expect natin sana na debut ni Shana Night Shyamalan sa The Watchers. Yung ganitong klaseng parang meron kang singular focus and vision dun sa gusto mong makita sa screen. Na talagang the source material be damned. You're going to put your fingerprints on the script. Ito alam kong may credited siyang co-writer niya, yung si E.G. Feigelbaum ba yun? I won't say naman na parang nag-overstep si Zoe kasi hindi natin alam yung behind the scenes, ganyan. Pero you can infer na talagang she grabbed the script's horns and never let go.
Talagang
Talagang-
sure-handed.
Piniga niya yung vision niya
Oo.
onto the script talaga.
And it means a lot more if this came from a woman.
True. Super.
Kasi this is a movie about
Abuse.
women's abuse, di ba?
True. Kaya, kung ganitong klaseng parang, ayoko naman sabihin na parang, wow, babaeng Jordan Peele si Zoe Kravitz. Pero kung hindi yung about the supernatural na lagi siyang horror yung ginagawa niya. Pero kung ganito ka-singular yung vision niya sa lahat ng gagawin niya, nakaka-excite. Panoorin yung kung anong gagawin niya next.
Actually, hindi ko nga alam, it's not just horror. It is horror and a lot of other things. It's genre bending.
Yan.
Just like Jordan Peele.
Well, kasi si Jordan Peele naman kasi parang gusto niya yung, alam mo yung parang yung mga more funny pero creepy na mga sketch nila sa Key and Peele. Mas ganun kasi yung gusto niya eh. Pero kasi ito, parang ito sana yung mga episodes ng Twilight Zone ni Jordan Peele.
Let's not talk about that.
Diba? Yun na nga, diba?
Yeah.
Pero kung ganito lang sana, yung raw intensity and power on display na unafraid to make a statement talaga.
Talagang bold and
Ay, God.
brave.
Grabe. Naalala mo, sabi mo kanina na parang yung pinanood natin to on the same day ng real life fiction.
Oo.
So,
Grabe
parang,
yung 1-2 punch ng araw na yon, no? We ate good
we
that
ate good
day.
that day. Yes. So dito sa Blink Twice, yeah, we're also gonna give it a rating of A.
Yes, A's across the board.
Sobrang, what an episode for today.
We had very few movie releases this week, pero grabe yung quality.
Grabe.
It's quality over quantity.
Do you think itong Blink Twice, may dadagdag natin siya dun sa marriage story category of films, or would you be open to seeing this again?
Oh, I'm gonna watch this again. Sobrang satisfying nito panoorin.
Yes.
I mean, yan. That's a clue that you should watch it.
Yeah.
Sobra. As a woman, you owe it to yourself to watch this movie.
True. Ayoko na magsabi na anything else. Baka may masabi pa tayo iba. Yeah, so that's it for our episode talking about real life fiction and Blink Twice. By the way, as of this time of release, only Blink Twice is in theaters. Okay? So, Real Life Fiction comes out on August 28th, exclusive in SM Cinemas. But if by the time Real Life Fiction has come out and you've seen any one or both of the films, please share with us with what you thought about the films. Yeah. Comment it on our social media accounts or down below on our Spotify episode page.
And don't forget to set your players to automatically download our new episodes so you don't miss out on our fun Cinegeek conversations. And while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you had fun or learned something new during this episode.
We would like to thank Black Cat Pictures for inviting us to the press screening and press conference of Real Life Fiction. By the way, we will be uploading the press conference of said film on our YouTube page, so please watch out for that. But as always, the studios and the distributors of the films are not given any creative control or editorial approval of this episode. They are hearing our review for the first time, same as you are.
For my co-host Troy, this has been Angela. Thank you for listening to the Cinegeeks podcast, where movies, TV, and all things geek collide.